Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. My name is Richard Cooper. I'm President and CEO of NY Spin. Let me take a few moments to thank our sponsors. First and foremost, we'd like to thank Thoughtworks for hosting tonight's event. All right, we'd also like to thank some of our other sponsors, CooperPresents.com, Pearson Education, O'Reilly Media, and Outback Publications. PMI considers us a Category B continuing education provider. So now, as some of you may know, we originally had another presenter and presentation booked for this evening. That speaker needed to cancel, and we put out a call for a speaker. A number of folks either provided suggestions or offered to present. Some of those will be presenting later this season. Tonight's speaker was recommended by Thomas Rivera. Thank you. A longtime member of NY Spin and someone who I worked with years ago, so thank you, Thomas. I'm sure you've all had a chance to read the bio of tonight's speaker, Edwin Cabrera, so I'll just quickly summarize. Eddie is an accomplished musician, note the CDs, who found his way into technology 20 years ago. He's currently managing two core components of the 911 system for the city of New York. His primary customers are the NYPD, the FDNY, and DoIT. And for those of you who don't know what DoIT is the Central Technology Agency of the city of New York. His role is balanced between two primary tasks: being a technical lead from the systems perspective and playing the diplomat between these three diverse agencies. He's looked at as the wise old wizard, resolving technical and diplomatic issues. So that makes him the perfect person to give tonight's presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Edwin Cabrera.
Well, we're a small group, so I'm hoping that this is going to be an intimate discussion. Usually this type of spiel, right, is a 2 to 3 day exercise because in its nature, it's transformative, not educational. So I'm not going to talk about Bristol Myers. I'm not going to talk about Scrum. I'm not going to talk about Agile. I'm really going to focus on the human aspect of what we do day to day, and what we do can vary, right? In technology, project managers, software developers, hardware, appliance developers, program managers, managing directors, vice presidents. I mean, there's a wide gambit of roles that I'm sure we collectively fill. So the invitation is to the game, okay? We're going to have a definition of shared language, so that way when I say something, you guys will understand what I'm talking about. Then we're going to talk about the politics of sort of our business, and I think the majority of your PM project managers, so this, because you have relationships with multiple silos within IT or within the business side of the house, I think this is going to be very beneficial, right? And then the intra piece, right? So one is the outward facing to your customer. Not that those are the people who pay the bills. But then there's the inside facing, where it's you and your colleagues, or you and your boss, or you and your boss's boss, and how you influence, how you see them, how they see you, how you see yourself. Okay, so those are the things we're going to do. We're going to talk about. So what's the greatest game? Greatest game is life. Now, there's one thing about life that people often worry about. It's like, do I live to work or do I work to live? What I'm going to say is, who cares? Work is part of life. Life is part of work. Stop separating them. Don't worry about it. No reason to sweat it, right? You work, you live, and you work. You're alive when you're at work, right? You're not a corpse at your desk, right? You're living, you're breathing, you're eating, you're talking, you're engaging, right? You're loving, you're hating, you're all this stuff that makes up life you do at work. You have friends at work. Maybe you have only colleagues at work. But you're living. So don't spend time separating it because it doesn't make sense. Instead, accept it for as it is, for what it is, and live through it. You'll figure it out, right? There's no rocket science to living. We've been living for millions of years, right? It's in our DNA. So don't sweat it anymore. Work is work. Live. right? And whether you live in your job, or you live in your home, or you live wherever, it's the same rules. The way you talk to your friend hanging on the street playing basketball is the same exact way you talk to the vice president in charge of marketing who you have to sell. Same kind of individual, right? Now, you wouldn't necessarily put a PowerPoint presentation in front of the guy you're playing ball with, but the interaction is the same. What is the common denominator? In life, work, family, death? What is the common denominator? Yes?
Respect.
Okay. Life, okay.
Integrity.
What's the common denominator in all this stuff that we're talking about? Everything that you guys just mentioned now, at this table, what is the common denominator?
Is it communication?
Communication. What else?
People.
Deeper.
Your emotions.
Deeper.
Relationships?
Deeper.
You.
You!
Oh.
You!
Right.
You are the common denominator, right? You have all these things in your life: people, relationships, busy, not busy, sleeping, right? All that is you. You're the one in the center, and everything else is around you. This will focus on you, because whether you're using Agile, whether you're using Bristol Myers, whether you're trying to engage, whether you're trying to perform or practice empathetic types of practices with your customer, it's still you. And none of that works if you don't. Everybody get me? Okay, I get that you get it. Do the rest of you guys get me? Yeah, okay. All right, so let's talk about the shared language. You can, if you want to, the papers are there in front of you for reference.
Are there any more of them?
No, I'm sorry. This was Plan C.
Okay.
So,
There's all the videotape.
all the videotape, right. So, first, integrity, right? So, these are not out of the Webster Dictionary. These are my definition, pseudo Webster Dictionary definitions. So integrity, a state of being complete or undivided. Authentic, plain and simple, real. Being real. Commitment is a promise. The never-ending story is interpreting what happens. Reality, or the fact, is really what happened, right? And we're going to talk about how facts quickly turn into stories, and why stories bubble up and you end up getting nothing done because you get stuck on the story rather than just looking at the facts. Change and transformation, and the difference between change and the difference between transformation. Change is something that exists and changes to something else, becomes something else, but it exists already. Transformation is new, creating from new, produced from new. Something didn't exist before then, right? Choice. This is going to be the hardest one tonight. Choice is having a say and being accountable. Decision is the reaction to your process when you're processing information in order to decide. Decision is not a choice. And we're going to have an exercise to demonstrate that, okay? And then the human mechanism. Now, what do I mean by the human mechanism? I want you to close your eyes for 10 seconds. Everybody, quickly, just close your eyes for 10 seconds.
Hold on to your wallets.
Okay, quickly, tell me what you thought of when your eyes closed.
Nothing really.
Really?
I was actually kind of counting.
Okay, you're counting.
Yeah.
So that was a voice. Voice was counting. What did you think about it? Other than saving a
I was
life.
wondering what everyone else was doing.
Oh, yes. Tommy, what do you think?
I was saying, gee, this is not dark enough.
What do you think? Counting.
I was actually, my hearing kind of like tuned up. I was like listening because I got no sight. So I'm seeing what sounds are out there.
Okay.
Relaxing.
Relaxing. Okay. Did anything ring in your head in terms of thoughts? No?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Just
Okay.
a random thought.
If Enrique, if you're able to quiet down your voices, you're a mile ahead. Why did I have us do this? The human mechanism is the fact that we have 1,000 voices going off in our brain at any moment, right? So we're busy, blah, 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 right? So sometimes we're walking to work, we hit the subway, somebody gives us a weird look. The first voice that pops, well, why did they look at me so weird? Is it, I bathed this morning, and I think everything is closed, and all these voices just bubble up in our brain. And the problem is that when you're dealing with a situation, all those voices are ramping up 1,000 miles a minute. How do you quiet that down so you can actually listen and hear and understand and digest? All right, that's going to be the key thing. So I'm glad you heard nothing.
Or thought nothing. Yeah.
You thought nothing, right? Right. So that's the human mechanism. So anytime I throw that out, that's what that means. All right. So there are a couple of things that I want to talk about here. Let's go back to the never-ending story. Interpretations of what happened. This is not referencing a complaint. Complaint is different, right? So the story is Ilya, right?
Yes.
Ilya, stand up for a second. Right. Pretend this is the 2 train. You're holding on, right? He's riding the 2 train. Bounce. Yeah, there we go.
Right.
What happened? What happened? What happened?
He just accepted that it happened. He didn't bother.
Okay.
Didn't get
What
bothered.
happened?
Look, he turned his head.
What happened?
He stopped moving.
Okay. So who had said that I bumped into him? That's the fact. What did you think?
I hope your shoulder is okay.
Oh, okay, that was nice. Other people would say, what a jerk, right? What a moron. Or why did he bump into me? Was he trying to say something to me? Was she trying to pick me up? I mean, all these thoughts come into your brain, right? But the fact was, he bumped into me. Can you imagine how peaceful this world would be if all of the politicians thought that rather than interpret and go to world war? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if all the CEOs and all the companies in the world just realized the facts, how much of a better world it would be? Right? That's why I want us to talk about. Transformation. So transformation. Everybody knows what a piano is, yeah? Piano has a hammer and a string. The hammer hits the string. What comes out is the transformation, because what comes out is a note, is music, right? A change is when the pianist hits the right pedal and it softens and sustains the sound. That's a change because the sound already existed. But the hammer hitting the string is the transformation because it's something new. Everybody get that? Yeah? Okay. Truth, morale, right and wrong. Let's talk about that for a second. And it's important because when it comes to separating facts from truth, facts from morals, facts from what's right and wrong, it's important because truth and morals are dictated by the time and the generation of that time, right? For example, the world, everybody thought the earth was flat, right? And then at 1225, Thomas Aquinas said, no, the world's not flat, but nobody believed him. And from then to 1888, there were still people, very important people in this world at that time that thought that the earth was flat, that the planet was flat. That was the truth. That was the moral. That was right. It wasn't the fact. Right? Interracial marriage wasn't legal on the federal level until 1967. And still, in certain states in the South, it was illegal. That was right. That was the moral. That was the truth. It wasn't the fact. The fact is that two people, no matter what background, no matter what sexual orientation, can marry each other. That's the fact. If I love Ilya, if I love Kathy, I love them. Doesn't have to be that he's Hispanic or she's Hispanic or I'm black and he's got, no. That's the fact. So the truth, what's right and wrong, and what's morally acceptable has nothing to do with the facts. Judge the facts. Look at the facts. Everything else is a story. If you get caught up in the story, you're going to get lost. And you're going to get stuck. And you're going to murk and mire. And you're going to get pissed. And it's going to reflect. Because you're stuck in the story. So anytime somebody does something, says something, you interpret it 5,000 different ways. Rather than just reading it into the fact itself. Okay, we're gonna talk about examples of this later on. I just want to lay this down. Okay, so let's talk about who you are. You notice that I asked you to give me a 1-minute summary of what you do and who you are. Did anybody tell me who they were? No. Why?
First, I missed that part. And it's just, we're in a business environment, so we're just thinking about our business selves.
Oh, that's a good point. Manice.
Yes.
Who are you?
I am Bahamian.
That you are who?
I'm from the Bahamas.
Bahamas. Okay, that's where you're from.
I'm Bahamian.
Who are you?
Who am I?
Joe, who are you?
I'm a single person.
Okay, that's your marital status.
Sensitive person at times, but business savvy.
Okay, that's a behavior. Tom, who are you?
Shoot, I thought I said it already.
You know?
Khalifa, who are you?
Love.
That's an emotion. Enrique, who are you?
A human being. I mean, you can answer that so many different ways. But a human.
That's your
process.
species.
I'm a pro.
That's your species. Harvey, who are you?
If I figure it out, I'll have to
That's an honest answer. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with that in your head. Don't let the 1,000 voices drive you nuts, though. I'm gonna go back to this at the end of the session, and then I'm gonna ask you again who you are. Okay. Okay. Behaviors. Let's talk about behaviors. The child psychiatrists say that behaviors start forming as young as 17 months up to 7 years. By 7 years, every single layer of behavior known to man is developed, right? You manipulate. You cry when you know that babies cry, right? When they're 3 years old and they cry, mom and dad's got to get them something just to quiet them. So that they know that. They understand that behavior. Not knowing yourself, doubting yourself is a behavior that starts around 4 years old, right? How many of you have kids? Okay, I have 4 kids and a granddaughter. And 3 girls. So, when you're born, do you understand what love is? Do you understand what hate is? Do you understand what being single is? Do you understand what working at Northrop Grumman is? Do you understand what being from the Bahamas is? No, when you're born, I'm going to say that you're perfect. When you're born, you're perfect. No hate, no stress. You eat, you poop, and you sleep. You can't get simpler than that, right? That's perfection. You start to grow up, and you start to layer behaviors. You start to say, oh, he has Pokemon. I want his Pokemon. Oh, she has that Naruto toy. I want Naruto. My Little Pony. I want My Little Pony. They start to develop those type of behaviors. This is now what I want you to understand, is that each person here is perfect. At your core, you're perfect. The stuff you do, love, being single. I'm single also. Those are behaviors. And those are behaviors that are layers on top of your core. They may be positive behaviors or they may be negative behaviors, but they surround your core. And I want to demonstrate this, and I need 2 volunteers. If you don't raise your hand, I'll select you.
Background.
Yeah? Okay, bring your chair over here, please. Just have a seat.
Face.
Yep, right there. One more volunteer. Please. Somebody have a watch with a second hand? Yeah, okay. I want you to just look at each other. Don't talk. Just stare at each other for 1 minute and go. Okay. Stay right there. Tell me what you saw, who you think he is.
I don't know, I think.
Mm-hmm. What came in your head, in your brain?
My
In
brain,
your brain.
my brain.
Yes. As you're looking at it, what was in your brain? What was going on in your brain?
You got pretty eyes.
Okay, good, fair enough, Ilya. Same question.
I've never done this before.
Uh-huh.
I noticed that every time you blinked, I wanted to blink.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Well, I know you were slightly uncomfortable because you had never done this before. Were you uncomfortable?
I did light spray. I did light spray.
You did like spring,
You've
okay.
done-
So you've done
you
some
did
similar
that,
to this,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you. You guys can sit down. So what was the purpose of that? When you're seeing someone, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what their relationship is or is not to you. We 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 times, we see them as a white person, a black person, a woman, a man, someone who dresses to my taste or someone who dresses not to my taste, someone who wears bright sneakers, someone who has a low-cut blouse, someone whose pants are too tight. Those are all the things that we think about. Oh, I like his shoes, right? Those are all the things we think about when we see someone. Take a moment at some point after tonight and look at someone. You could start off at home with a family member. Look at someone and just see them as a human being. See them as a member of this planet, as a citizen of this universe. That's it. And what I would recommend, this is an exercise I've done several times, is that you stand in front of the individual, and hopefully that relationship is intimate enough where you can do this, is that you stand in front of the individual, have them stand in front of you close, about 3 or 4 inches apart, and just stare at each other's eyes for about 2 or 3 minutes. The last time I did that exercise, both the person in front of me and myself just lost it. We just started crying. Because you come to the realization that as different as you and I may be, that I'm looking at perfection. Why? Because I'm perfect. I'm not looking at or interpreting what your imperfections could be. Because I'm no longer worried about my imperfections.
You're looking at yourself, but at a different version of yourself.
Yes, but not a different version. Just yourself.
Okay.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Does everybody get it? Does anybody not get it? No reason to be shy. If you don't get it, you don't
Well,
get
I
it.
have a question.
Yes, sir.
You mean there's something universal that you start to perceive that, is that what you're saying?
I'm glad
So
you
you
used the
look at
word
yourself.
universal. I'm glad you used the word universal. There are many philosophies, many religions that teach us that we are connected to a larger body, right? Whether that's God, whether that's Allah, whether that's Jehovah, whether that's the universe, they're gay, there are tons, right? But one thing I do know, no matter what your system of faith is, we are all interconnected. And we are all interconnected both on a global sense and on a universal sense. And when we talk about those terms that we spoke about before, the shared language terms, when you have integrity, when you're authentic, when you commit, when you meet your commitments, the universe reacts. So we are all interconnected. I'm glad you used that word, Bill. Universal.
What do you mean the difference between global and universal?
Well,
You use
global is a smaller version of universal. I'm of the belief that we're not alone, right? But I'm also of the belief that everything works in this universe as a reaction to us as well. I think if when I talk to my kids, and my son is the oldest, he's 26. And when I talk to my son, and he's married, they have a child, and he's like every young 26-year-old, they're struggling, the first couple of years of marriage, and they have a kid, So I talk to him and I advise him. I am very, very conscious about injecting positive, not advice, but guidance and reinforcement, and it's not just for his sake, right? It's because it sends out a positive, I don't want to get too deep in it, but it sends out a positive spin that really helps the universe. We all know about global warming. We all see the impacts of global warming. I was so happy when the young man was talking about the social injustices that this company does, because that's very important. But that's all stuff that we don't know if we necessarily can contribute to, but I'm telling you, every single positive word that you may say to your neighbor, you may say to your child, you may say to your coworker, feeds that. Feeds that. Right? Did I answer? Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's talk about now the relationships. Right? So we're going to talk about IT relationships with customer. Okay, that's the first conversation point. Now, I have a very challenging customer. I have 3 customers. DoIT is the primary. That's who my contract is owned by, then the FDNY and the NYPD. Now, for those of you who know New York and know New York's history, know that the NYPD and the fire department have had a very challenging relationship across the last 170 years. I mean, it's that long. And trying to get those 2 agencies to ever work together has always been problematic. We participated in the building of the first PSAC, which is Metrotech, which is the 911 system, where they answer the 911 calls, right? So that's what my team manages. They manage 2 of the components of the 911 system that the dispatchers all answer when people call 911. One of the goals was to have the fire department and the police department in one physical location. That took 12 years. And it wasn't because of the technology. It was literally because of the relationship and how to bridge those 2 relationships. Now, how do you bridge relationships with stories? And again, understanding that you, me, are the common denominator. So you go to a meeting, you have your customer at that meeting. What's the first thing you think of? by nature, you know, we don't have to be a technologist, but by nature, what do we think about customers? They usually don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why they got us, right? That's why they hired us to think for them and do for them, because they're, you know, he's a customer, he's a user. You know, users don't know this. So that's the first thing we usually think about. So when we walk in the room with the customer, that voice of the 1,000 other voices in your brain are saying, okay, here we go again. I've already explained this three times. Now I have to explain it a fourth time. Oh, and he has his boss with him, so now I have to explain it even, dumb it down more, so that way his boss can understand it. Those are the 1,000 voices in your brain. What I'm saying is that exactly what we just finished talking about, you do. So in other words, stop. Quiet the voices. And just see it in the now. Live in it in the now. Forget about the past. Right? Because if you hold on to the past, what happens? The past dictates the now, which then forms your future. So your future ends up being a result of your past. Is that freedom? Is that you choosing? Or is that you inheriting? If you allow yourself to be stuck in your past, you're inheriting your past, which then dictates your now and your future. That's not choice. The decision's already made, right? Because it's coming from the past. What I'm saying is, forget that. Leave that behind you. Now, because it takes up to 7-8 years for these behaviors to form, it's not going to take a day for them to get stripped off. It's going to take practice. It's going to take time. But you know what? Every layer that you strip off becomes one less that you have to carry. And for every layer that you take off, that's one behavior less that you have to worry about. That's one behavior less that you're closer to your perfection. And the customer will notice. They may not acknowledge it, but they'll notice. Yes?
How do you quiet the voices?
Some people do it differently. I've known friends that do it at a point in time. They haven't learned to do it real time. So at the end of the day, when you're at your most exhausted, but when the voices are really running rampant, that's why a lot of us can't sleep, right? Because you're you know, she said this and he said that, what was that, right? So you meditate. Whatever form of meditation you want to do, whether you meditate on your system of faith, if you listen to music, if there is a glass of wine that you like to meditate on, you know what, whatever works. There's no set formula for it. Now me, I quiet my voices real time. So when I go to a meeting, and I sit in front of either a customer or another manager, the voice is shut down. Now, why do my voice is shut down? Because it's important for me to listen. And if I'm hearing the 10,000 other voices, don't you, whenever you go to a meeting with a group of 4 or 5 people, don't you always see someone that doesn't look like they're really paying attention? You know, sometimes there's always someone that you see that's, you know, that's because they're listening to their voices. They're off somewhere else. There's one guy, he's a deputy commissioner at the NYPD. Very funny guy. I adore him. He makes life difficult sometimes, but I really adore him because so you're talking to him, right? And you're talking and you're getting to the crucial part of your presentation. And something like this will go off and he'll just spin off. Anything that's shiny that goes in front of him, he spins off. And then you have to start again because he'll forget everything that you just said. But when I talk to folks, I quiet the voices down because I need to listen. And it's just going to sound silly. I literally say, shut up, to myself. And so try what works for you. Right. That's the only answer I can give you. Right? See what works for you. Maybe you start off with meditation. I don't know. Maybe you just allow it to help you sleep.
I need the instant quiet.
You need the instant quiet
Yeah,
area.
I need to
Okay.
learn that.
All right. Practice. Like anything else, like you're working a muscle. Because it's your brain, it's not your mind. It's your brain. All the electromagnetic signals going to the brain. Always active. Like any muscle, you can control it. Okay? There's one thing that everybody loves to say, and that is the customer is always right. I'm not going to tell you that that's wrong because there's no right or wrong. But I'm going to tell you that that's not the fact. Right? Your customer is not always right. Plain and simple, it's not the fact. Right? And Tom and I have known ACS for many years because they bought one of the Northrop Grumman solutions. And it's an agency that I have a high amount of respect for because they put their lives in danger. They're chased by irate fathers who are beating their children. I mean, they really go through hell. And we built a system that allows them to press a panic button in their car if someone goes to attack them. And that way 911 comes over and helps them. But they are challenging as an agency. They are not always right in terms of the customer being right. Now, when you're listening to your customer, and the key thing is listening, the key thing is absorbing, digesting, not just the appearance. Because, like it or not, most customers are somewhat savvy in terms of body language and in terms of your attention span. But if you are attuned to that customer, you'll understand what they're saying, how they're saying it, and why they're saying it. Now, how do you sort of get that, right? So there are a couple of things that I want to share with you in terms of practical exercises. This will impact positively your meetings with your customer as well as your internal IT meetings. One, actually enjoy your meetings. What I'm telling you here is to choose. Don't decide. Choose to enjoy your meetings. Why do I say choose? Can someone answer why I would say choose? Who's accountable for choice? You are. Who's in control with choice? You are. Right? Not anyone else. It's your accountability. And it's your power. So you choose to enjoy your meetings. Now, here we go. Love your customer. Now, the definition of love. Some may agree, some may not. Some may disagree. But love is you love, but you get nothing back. Love is not bi-directional. Love is one way. And I'm not talking about falling in love. That's an emotion. I can fall in love, wake up on the wrong side of the bed tomorrow, and I'm no longer in love. Or I had some bad coffee, and you're out. Right? That's falling in love. Love is unconditional. I choose to love. Again, who's accountable? You are. Who's in control? You are. So love your customer. If you don't love your customer, you will fail. You will fail. Because the hatred or the dislike or anything in between will seep through. I mean, you have to be an incredible BSer not to let that seep through. And the problem is that if you're BSing, you're not being authentic. And this doesn't work unless you're authentic. Yes, sir.
Are you saying like the customer is not strong enough? That's what you're back to.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
And like, then you could switch to unlike very quickly?
Yes.
And-
Yes. To me, it's well, one, it's like the word sincere. The word sincere is the appearance of honesty. We're on camera, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I won't say the word. Sincerity is the appearance of honesty. It's cloak and dagger. Authenticity is honesty. Sincerity is a cloud. It's not real. It's smoke. And the only way to penetrate that smoke is with your integrity, by being authentic and loving.
Can you say being committed to the project as opposed to being loving a customer? I mean, you know, loving a customer can, you know, as a BAPM, I got multiple customers. If you think about it, I got internal IT teams, and I got an end user, and I could have a sponsor. There could be different entities.
Sure.
So to me, it's.
Don't you have enough love to? or do you choose not wanting to love? Different.
I guess love is just, to me, the word just throws me off. I guess that's.
Yeah, because we're used to hearing it in terms of a different type of relationship. I understand. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
That's right. I had a question.
Yes, please.
Depending on your role and situation, your customer could be any one of a variety of different types of people. If you're a contractor, your customer is your client.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
If you are an employee or an embedded contractor, if you would, inside the organization, I guess that would fit your situation as well.
Yep.
Then you don't really choose who your customers are. They're your coworkers in various different roles. They're, in my case, the developers, or the project manager, or the business analyst, or, you know, someone else on my team, or any one of a dozen different people are all my customers in some form.
Right. So what's your question?
They're all different, and I
Okay.
can't love them all equally.
Wow. Okay. So this is my answer to that.
Don't love me.
Yeah. Well, this is my answer to that. One is you do choose, or you can choose who you work with, when you work with them, what you work with. You can choose. You have that choice. You can always choose to leave. Bottom line, it's a choice. Bottom line, who's accountable? I need us to understand this. Bottom line, who is accountable when you make a choice? We are.
Right, but if you have 12 different customers in your situation, and 9 of them you love and 3 of them not so much,
You
you're
can
not
skip
going to
it.
walk out the door, you're just going to deal with it the best you can.
Okay, there I would disagree. Because then you're not choosing.
So
I am choosing.
No, you're not.
I'm choosing to live with the situation if that
Oh,
were the case.
I see what you're saying.
Making a
But
choice.
you're choosing not to love, and I would argue that loving is your only choice.
Why?
You know,
Because there's nothing else you want to live with. Why would you want to live with something that's not love?
so
Sorry, Harvey.
no. I mean, at the end of the day, what the context of love is really just being able to consciously compartmentalize any personal feelings you develop for that person. You know, they piss you off in a conversation, in a meeting, what have you, but it almost like you ignore that and you're still going to behave a certain way with them and say, I'm still going to do whatever I have to in their best interest or in the organization's best interest.
Okay, close. But
Is that what we're saying, or
no,
not, or-
no, too complicated.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that I'm perfect. You're perfect. I love you. I choose to love you. Why? Because I'm perfect, and so you're perfect. Yes.
Is this professionalism over emotion?
No, it's not emotion.
Well, that's what, like, I won't have emotion then.
Okay.
Like, I'm just going to work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I don't know. But then it is emotion if you want us to love these people.
No, not emotion. Because then you're falling into what Harvey described as you compartmentalize. You ignore those things that really piss you off. What I'm saying is, no, toss that out. Because they'll piss you off. You should still love them because they're perfect. It's their behavior that sucks.
Like you would be them if they're on the other side of the table. You could potentially be
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
True.
Absolutely. What I'm saying is it's the choice. Now, back to your point. You choose not to love. Again, who's accountable for the choice?
I'm not choosing, just extremely difficult.
Yes, yes. It rubs us the wrong way because we're used to, I love my mother. Well, sometimes not. I'll tell you something here. I love my ex-wife. I choose not to be married to her, but I love my ex-wife.
Eddie, you gave sincere a bad word. I mean, sincere is a really good adjective. You said it doesn't compare to authentic. And I think sincere is in the same league as authentic.
Okay? What I'm telling you is not right or wrong. If it works for you, it works for you. All I'm saying is that I don't want you to be sincere with me. I want you to be authentic.
Yeah, because you can fake being sincere.
Yeah. I really didn't mean to step on your foot. But you know what? I stepped on your foot. That's sincerity. Rather than just not stepping on his foot. Yes, sir.
You
Joe.
mentioned authentic as being real,
Mhm.
but you're actually giving a situation where almost like a 0-1, either you love or you have a choice of just walking. There's nothing
Oh,
in
no.
between.
Okay, no, good point, Joe. So back to his point, you can choose not to love. You don't have to walk. You can just choose not to love. But again, who's choosing?
You.
Who's accountable?
You are.
Okay. That's all I'm saying. Thank you for clarifying that, Joe. But in terms of the choice, you can choose to walk. If that person, if you can't stand that person so much, it's your choice. You're choosing to deal with it or you're choosing not to deal with it. The main thing is that you're making the choice. That your integrity, you're being authentic about the choice, and you're committed to the choice.
So
Yes.
once you take care of yourself, other parts of the puzzle may or may not fall in place. Because you can't control the other person.
Yes, you're right. You cannot control the other
Right,
person.
you don't. Right.
What can you control?
Yourself.
Thank you.
I got it.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so she got it. I'm seeing these guys like, you guys get it?
No.
No. Okay.
They're just, I thought I did.
That's it, we're ready to leave. Think about it. This is stuff for you to chew on. This is not for you to acquiesce to. This is not something that you should agree with necessarily. This is an approach to life because work is part of life. You don't separate your job from your life, right? But it's something for you to chew on because what you apply at home, gotcha. What you apply at home, you apply at work, you apply in every aspect of your life. Yeah? Okay, I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna go a little faster. Quiet the human mechanism, we talked about that, right? Shut down the voices, yeah? Glass is half full, okay, just very quickly. Most people think that's negative. You're a kind of glass is half full kind of guy, you know? That means you're fairly pessimistic, you know, glass is, you know, half empty. No, I'm sorry, it's the reverse. Glass is half empty, you're pessimistic. Glass is half full, you're optimistic. What I'm saying is the glass is half full or the glass is half empty, both are good. Why? Because you have the ability to create.
You have the ability to what?
Create. Now, if the glass is empty, even more so you have the ability to create. So sometimes you have to say, you know what, let me take all this off, so I can create from scratch. Right? Again, the past. Remember the conversation we had about the past. Not allowing the past to dictate now, that influences the future. Start from scratch. So that way you have the possibility of creation. You live in the now, and your commitment to the now opens up the door to the future. That's the definition of faith. Right? Focus on listening, we talked about that, listening and digesting. Eye contact. I had these two, right, staring at each other, Kalibo and Ilya, right? Eye contact with your customer. Stay in contact. I've seen careers get destroyed because the person that's listening is busy writing everything down rather than watching.
So you know what I'm dying to say is
Yes.
that, you know, all these meetings, all these conference calls, and people not traveling, not having meetings in person, just kill, you know,
Yeah.
the ability to develop real team feeling
Yeah.
for each other
Yeah.
and collaboration.
Mhm.
And it's so hard. And something like Skype is like a window into, gives you that chance to make that contact with someone.
Right.
Not as-
No, it's true, and unfortunately, it's a tool that we have to. Well, we don't have to. That we choose to deal with. Right? It is a tool. Now, something to help counteract that tool is if you don't get it, say you don't get it. Say, regurgitate what the other person said to you. Don't be afraid. What? The worst thing you could do is get it wrong. Once. Regurgitate it. Say, as I understand it, blah, 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 blah. Right? And if you got it right, hey. And if you got something wrong, they'll correct it, and then you got it right. Yes, sir, Joe.
I got this situation where I'm usually the minute taker of the meeting. I go to, I can't make eye contact half the time because I'm writing down.
But that's different. That's you're doing a specific role. Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, when you're doing like a specific role of note taking, then yes, you got to focus on that because otherwise you're going to miss the boat.
Right.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay.
Commitments. And this goes back to who you are. Commitments are key. You should always choose to meet your commitments. Now, I have 5 minutes? Okay, so I have just enough time for one exercise and then this definition. I'm going to ask 2 of you, who are you? With everything that we've talked about, who are you? Harvey, who are you?
Not there yet.
Tom, who are you?
Person trying to understand and get through life, I guess.
Okay. This is what I would define as who we are, who I am, who you are. Because this is the only thing you can control. This is what chooses integrity. This is what chooses accountability. This is what's authentic. You are your word. Because that's the only thing that people can see you as your word. Are you meeting your commitment? You are your word. Everything else is a behavior, right? Your race, your nationality. But your word is you. Because that's the only thing that no one can touch.
Didn't Scarface say it a little bit more colorful?
Say hello to my little friend, is that? No. Okay. Everybody understand?
Yeah.
Any questions before we get to the next exercise?
Your word in action, right? Isn't the
Well, you see, commitment is action, right? Because commitment, although commitment is a noun, it does result in action, yes. So you're committing to something, that means you're going to do something.
Okay, yeah,
Right, yes,
yeah.
yes. Thank you for that clarification. Good. 5 minutes, okay.
So how does this fit into IT politics?
Okay. I got to do one exercise before we go there.
Okay.
All right? I need one volunteer, one person that's willing to be uncomfortable. No? Okay, I'm going to choose you. Come on. Now, while she's doing this, how does this help IT politics? Politics is basically nothing but a big story, right? This person did this person does this person has this relationship, this person has this person up his butt, all this stuff is politics, right? How to play the game, how to be the diplomat. What I'm saying is strip all that out. Be authentic. Be authentic.
Doesn't that directly contradict the behavior you need in order to work through politics?
Maybe. But I can tell you from my personal experience, it actually helps. It helps. My customer base, both internal and external, and my staff, I've had staff that range from 30 people to 180 people. And the one thing that ties it all is the fact that Eddie's real. Now, when I talk to someone and I'm being authentic and I'm being real, I don't say, you're an absolute moron. I never do that. Right? Because that's negative. That's negative. What I'm saying, right?
But
What
is
you
that
speak.
factual?
Huh? It could be factual, but it's usually a story, because to be a moron means that you can't even walk, right? But you're injecting negativity. And when you verbalize that, you release it and you put it into action. So why not do it with love? Yes, sir, Joe.
I'm going to mention something more practical.
Please,
okay?
please.
Yes, you mentioned politics to be stories and stuff like that. But something more practical. Police department. fire
Yes,
department.
yes.
Isn't it to your advantage to know who is the deputy commissioner, who is working for that deputy commissioner, who reports to who? That's politics. In the meeting, don't you know, doesn't it give you an advantage to know who is subordinate to somebody else?
Sure, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's politics. That's just knowing your customer. Politics for me is,
Okay.
I'm going to buddy up with you and take you out for a couple of drinks because you're the commissioner.
I don't look at politics that way.
You know, that's politics.
But that is politics.
That is politics, right?
But I consider the other stuff politics.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, no, that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But really, politics is the unauthentic piece,
Okay.
right? Maybe that's a better way of defining it. Okay, you ready? Okay, this is focused on choice. You have vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream. Choose.
Chocolate.
Why?
It's my favorite.
You didn't choose. Okay.
What's
Vanilla,
both-
chocolate.
Vanilla chocolate.
What are you
I
gonna
chose
choose?
chocolate.
Why?
I like how it tastes.
Okay, you're not choosing.
Right.
Okay. This is vanilla, this is chocolate. Choose.
Chocolate.
Why?
My mind. I'm stuck on chocolate.
Why?
Um,
You're not choosing. Vanilla, chocolate. Choose.
chocolate.
Why?
I like it.
You're deciding, you're not choosing.
Yeah, I see what he's doing. I see what he's doing.
Vanilla,
I see
chocolate. Choose.
Vanilla?
Why?
Because you're making me choose. I chose vanilla.
Oh! She got it.
What was you
She said because I chose vanilla.
Oh. Sure.
You choose because you choose.
So when I say I like it, that's emotional.
You're processing,
Got it.
right? And when you're choosing, you're what? You're accountable,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
It's by your integrity. It's based on your integrity, and you're committed to it. You're choosing vanilla because you're choosing vanilla. Now,
Why?
your customer.
Pardon?
You're a customer. Choose.
I am a customer.
No, you're a customer.
My customer.
Whoever
yeah.
your customer is.
Mhm.
Choose your customer. Choose.
IT guy.
Okay. Choose your customer. Choose your IT guy. Why did you choose him? Or her?
We tend to be able to speak the same language
You're deciding.
because I want to choose the IT
Okay.
guy.
And why? Because you're perfect.
And that person.
That person's perfect. Thank you. Everybody get it? No. Who said no? When you strip it all down, this is love at its bare. The self-awareness. We all know we got hang-ups. I mean, for goodness sake, right? We all know we got hang-ups. We all got behaviors that suck. But we're perfect.
How do you get the other person to feel the same way?
You can't. You can't control them.
What's the question?
Yeah, he asked, how can you get the other person to reciprocate or to act the same way, behave the same way? You can't. You can't, because you can't control that individual. The only person you can control is yourself.
But there still has to be reasons behind your choice, like yours with the IT person. If she was choosing somebody, say that, okay, that person's perfect, but you're not gonna choose an accountant when you need an IT person, so there's other skills or factors.
No, I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I am talking specifically about who she's working with. and who her customer is. Right, so let's go to the accountant.
Okay.
Your accountant, choose. You need an accountant, choose your accountant. Why did you choose your accountant?
Well, I would probably maybe get
No,
recommendations or
that's
skills.
decision, no.
Yeah.
You're perfect,
Yeah.
your accountant's perfect, you choose.
What you're saying is random, just any random choice is you're choosing then.
It's a choice, yes.
As
And the
opposed-
choice is what drives love.
Yeah, as opposed to having it based on memory or something, you're just random.
That's something where you can be out on a limb.
Sure. Sure.
Let's put, say you're reviewing candidates and you got 20 resumes.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're saying just pick randomly?
No.
one-
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you're in a situation, because we all work with colleagues, right? That just happen to come into the job
Right.
that we're working on. What I'm saying is that you choose to deal with them and work with them because you choose to. No other reason. Not that they like you, not that you like them, not that they speak your language, not that you don't speak their language. You just choose them. Why? Because it's love.
Is it because you want to help people who you love? So if you love your customer, you'll always be committed. Like,
Okay, I understand where you're going. That's the next exercise. This is helping you. This focus is helping you as the individual. The love frees you, not your customer. The choice frees you, not your customer. The authenticity, the integrity frees you, not your customer. Once we get beyond this, as individuals, once you get beyond this, then you start to consider yourself no longer you. Now it's you as the group.
Use what?
As the group. Like some of you manage projects, and you have, let's say, 20 people matrixed into you.
Yeah.
From a project management perspective, it's no longer you, it's you as the project team. But you have to start with the common denominator, which is you. Right? Thank you very much, guys.